My name is Dave Holdsworth. I am 55 years old. I work at an egg company. I run marketing for a company called Eggland's Best, so I'm an egg executive. I live in northern Jersey. I'm from Philadelphia originally. I am married. I have two kids, one who's about to go to college, one who's a senior in high school. And my hobbies are spending time with my family and doing stupid Survivor games like this one. I'm excited to be part of the family. I applied to the actual show of Survivor 22 times, never got a call back, which I don't know. Why would they not want to put an attractive, balding, mid-50s year guy on TV? Well, why not? But once I found the live reality game community in 2017, I stopped applying to Survivor because I found that this world, it checked my boxes. Everything I wanted out of Survivor, the strategy, the fun, the pushing myself without all the horribleness of going away for 40 days and getting fired from your job and the horrible social media side of things. I get to avoid all that. So I started with Survival Challenge. That was my first game back in 2017. Came second.
The winner of Survival Challenge 2017, Bethany.
I then played Survivor Brooklyn South, Brains versus Beauty versus Brawn. Believe it or not, I was not on the Beauty tribe. I was on the Brawn tribe, which is funny. Came in third there. Did Survivor Philadelphia, came in seventh. Survivor Angelica came in 11th. Did Brooklyn South All-Stars. Last summer I did Surviving Maine. Just made the merge in that. I think I came in ninth. And then I played Synergy, which is a partner game, all challenges down in Florida last year. Came in fourth with my partner, Mark Pastor. And I just played the Mole New York. For those that were watching, I was the Mole, so it was fun. In some ways, it was easier because it was kind of like I was an actor in the game. I knew the script ahead of time. I knew all the challenges. I knew all the participants who were going to be there, and I could map things out. The thing that was much more difficult than I expected was I knew a couple people in the cast, some of them pretty well, and it put me in a weird position because normally in one of these games I would say, hey, Will, I know you, let's try to work together, keep it quiet and get to the end together. I couldn't do that in this game because it would be kind of screwing them over. So I had to kind of be a little bit standoffish with people that I otherwise would play pretty closely with. So that aspect of it was hard for me, but it was a great experience. I highly suggest you get a chance to play a mole game, give it a try. I think pretty well. Some of the people, one woman had me figured out from the opening gun. I don't know how I knew her from before. She targeted me. And for whatever reason, I think the third voting, she changed it up to someone else and she got eliminated. After that, I think he did a much better job of flying under the radar and, taking money out of the pot and all that a little more subtly. But she was on to me quick. Luckily, I got her off the set. In terms of who I try to mimic my game against, I don't have a specific player. I mean, if there's Charlie from the last season, the kid who made it to the end and lost on the Maria switch-up vote, he's probably the one where if I looked at his game, I'm like, that's something that I would try to epitomize. Because a lot of the elements of what he did, I try to do as well. Like, he prepared really hard. He went out there and tried to find one person he felt comfortable with, help get to the end together. He was willing to cut them at the end. So there's elements of him, but I think the main strategy is, above all else, you have to be flexible and roll with the punches, because if you go in and say, this is my blueprint A, B, and C, you'll be screwed if you aren't able to zig when the game zags. One of my downfalls in these games is, and I've learned it as I've watched, I'm like, right now Surviving Maine is on, and I'm on Surviving Maine. I am really freaking paranoid. I am the vote. It's going to be a unanimous vote against me. I'm going to be playing my shot in the dark.
As soon as he played that, I was like,
I told him not to, too. I'm like, we're not voting for you.
I'm too anxious. I need to check in with people too much. That's a negative. I've learned that about myself. So I need to dial that down in the game. One of my main rules in coming into the game is you cannot win the game early, but you can lose it early. And the way you lose it early is by being too much of anything early in the game. If you're too bossy, you're too quiet, you're too arrogant, you're too in charge, you're too lazy, anything you can do that separates you from everyone else, puts a target on you, and you need to avoid that. So I try to go in the games being very friendly, very positive, very helpful without being bossy, kind of like the attentive and helpful but not bossy dad. Since, I'm 55, you could easily say the old person's an easy target. So my job is to get real connections with people early so they don't target me as the old guy, get to the merge, and then crack my knuckles and really start playing the game. I am very good at puzzles. I'm very good at challenges. I work at it. I mean, before you came on, I was taking a break practicing. This is a classic Survivor game where you have to make a pyramid out of balls. This is one I can do 9 seconds. I probably have 60 different puzzles that I've made or bought or 3D printed. I've got slingshots. I make fire. I try to stay physically fit because as the old guy playing these games, they could easily say, old dude's a liability. He's a walking geriatric, horrible person. I don't want that to happen. So I try to go in these games being more prepared and in better shape than, the 20-something-year-olds that are out there. So I work pretty hard on this. I'm actually on vacation next week with my family, and I am bringing an entire suitcase worth of Survivor stranded prep materials. So I'll get up at 7 a.m. when my family and friends are sleeping and work on Survivor for 3 hours prepping for the game. So yes, I'm a nut job. I know that. It would imply that it's kind of like old school, or actually maybe even new school Survivor, where you are put out there with nothing. What you walk into the game with is all you're given. It's not like some games where you're sleeping in a cabin. It's not going to be some games where you get tons of food. You're going to be roughing it for that 48 hours or however long the game takes place. So you are stranded. It also implies potentially that there might be a location where you go off and you're stranded by yourself. I've thought about that too, like an Exile Island, a Redemption Island. We'll see. Maybe you guys are going to whip out some twists that I haven't thought of, and that would be fun too. Nowhere to hide though. That's an interesting tagline. I've not seen that anywhere else. I mean, yeah, it sounds like people are going to be up front and center, and they're not going to be able to take back seats into things in some way. Okay. I'm one of those people you shouldn't tell anyone when you find an advantage or an idol. I mean, 99.9% of the time, it is not the right thing to do. If you're seen, you can't hide it. You need to get that person and try to, on the social side, loop them in to be an ally with you. We'll use it together. But if you get the feeling that they're going to spill the beans to the whole tribe, you're better off getting rid of it and telling people about it, and just say, I'm going to use it on the next tribal and burn it to get in people's good graces, than be seen as playing purely for yourself, because that's a reason for them to point their finger at you. And again, it's situational. If I look at it where it's a close vote within the tribe, Susie has a way to save herself, whether it's she's got an idol or she has something, and I think it's in my best interest long term, I would not be afraid of saying something to her on the sly. But again, it depends. And I mean, there's one winner in these games. So in my mind, your number one is really the person you're bringing to either get number two or cut at the end. So at some point, they have to go away. And if that is early to save your game, it's early to save your game. You got to find another number one later on if you cannot save them. I will work with my friends as far as it makes sense for my game. And my assumption is that they're doing the same thing. They're not, if I am clearly going to beat them, I don't expect them to take me to the end, and I'm making moves anticipating that they will not. So to me, Survivor is not about morals. Survivor is kind of like Risk or poker. You're trying to win the game. And it's not like it's the only live reality game ever. These people who you might stab in the back can play again later, as can I, in a different game potentially. So at some point, morals go out the window when it no longer benefits the people involved in the alliance. I usually do pretty well in these games, usually because I'm not seen as a threat early. And I usually finish somewhere second to seventh, something in that range. They take me out as a threat later on. So I think this is my 8th game. 8th time's the charm. That's my tagline for me. We'll see if it comes true. Regardless, at the end of the day, this is a game for me. I'm going to try to win, but if I don't win, I'm going to make sure that production doesn't have any issues out there as much as possible. I like these games to come off well.
Awesome. Well, will Dave survive being stranded? Only time will tell.